So, in the understanding of the stock market, they they people who buy the stock they have nothing to do with the business itself. The government watches the business, but the people that own the stock have nothing to do with it. They can't buy out the company. They can't tell the company what direction to go to make profit. Right now the people that own the stock are pushing the company around, and that's comes to an end. The all you can do is take a gamble on the company, and that's where you put your money. And the first thing they say is, and the thing that they look at all the time is, can you guess who would be against the first new rule for business? If you guess right, you can guess who those people serve. So I was going to say, well, what are they saying? You can plainly see what they're saying. Anybody that's against that rule is a game player, plain and simple. Game player. They want your money. Get your billfold out, open up your purse, give me your money. And what are we giving you our money for? Absolutely nothing. I just want your money. Well, like we said many times, drop your guns off at the sheriff's office and go do your thing. So then they have a second rule in the stock market, and that is that you get up to 12% on your return. You can get up to 12%. That's what we said before, but that's the most that you can get. It's riskier than a bank. There's no guarantee. Well, there's kind of a guarantee because the government's watching them, but you could lose all your money. But you can also gain 12% return. There it is. That's the stock market. If you want to really get in there and make high stakes returns, go to the private sector and go into the gambling of the private sector and go win your money for nothing. See, they've changed it around so that all of these game players get to play together, and they don't get to play with the sheep. So the businesses are regulated and licensed, and there's no cheating, and the returns will be given quarterly, and if the company makes less than 12%, you get less, and if the company makes more than 12%, then the guy that owns the company will pocket whatever it is that he wants because it's his company or her company, and up to the 400,000, and then it becomes well, maybe even a million. It becomes irrelevant to go any farther because you're just paying to put the money to the government. So then you're going to give your foreman a little bit more, and the secretary or the whatever, and they got more money to play with, and that's cool. But then you can only get so far, and then you start putting your money into like an account in case you have to buy something, and that gets bigger and bigger, and it gets to the point where the government says, no, you can't put the money in that account anymore. You got enough money for future needs. And they say, well, what are we going to do with it? I mean, we're great. We're a tremendous company. What are we going to do with it? And the government says, you are going to charge less. Now, do you understand? Now do you see it? All of a sudden, there's all these companies, and it doesn't do them any good to make more than $1 million, the top guys. So they're going to give it to what? Their wife, cousin, nieces, nephews. You get to the point where I'm not going to do that. How about your great foreman? I'll give him more, but I'm not going to give him the same amount that I'm making. I mean, come on. So what are you going to do? I got a big bank account. I got all kinds of money to buy equipment and stuff if I need to. Well, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to lower my prices. I'm going to have to quit overcharging. That's what they're trying to tell you. Over and over and here and there. All of a sudden, this this change in the amount of money you can make, all of a sudden it changes everything. It just absolutely changes the way the United States is run. So then they turn over to the banks. What about the banks? We were talking about that before. In the new system, the banks can only give 6% interest on savings, and the savings is guaranteed by the government. The bank can only loan to local people or businesses and cannot move their money to other parts of the state or the country. They will be local banks only. So, you won't have 20,000 people in this city and you take the money that they put in and send it to New York for the big bank that can't fail. And you understand? You understand what they're saying? No, it's too complicated. Forget that. You can only loan to the local people. Somebody puts money into the bank and somebody says, I want to borrow money for a car. Okay, we got it. And then somebody from New York says, we'd like to, you've got all kinds of money just sitting there. You want to make money on your money? And the bank says, yeah. And so the New Yorker says, give us all your money that's extra and we'll invest it in New York. And the federal government says, nope, can't do that. Can't do that. Well, they're going to say, but I could make money. That isn't what you're there for. You've got these congressmen, senators that are on your side now because they're not being paid off by the rich. And in order to get elected, the only way they can do it is keep you happy. And these congressmen and senators are saying, no, you keep your bank local, you keep the money local, and that's the way it is. And you can't give more than 6%. So if the bank starts making good money, so that's good. But if the bank makes too much money, what are they going to do with it? The same thing as a business. You get up to $1 million for the top people, and okay, we're going to have to charge less. It's just we're going to charge less for the money that we loan out because we're making too much money and we haven't got. What are we going to do with it? Okay, so now and then they just slide over this real quick, and I'm not going to because I'm. You'll understand why. They say, however, the Federal Reserve will be disbanded and all the debt owed to the overchargers will be canceled. What? The Federal Reserve will be disbanded and the government will be printing, only the government will print money. And, you have your people that are concerned about you. So we're not going to get into, do I know why the Federal Reserve does what it does? You bet I do. Do I know that they have to print money because the expansion of credit is essential for the increase in the national amount of money that our country makes? Sure, I understand the whole concept. I understand it all. It's baloney, so let's get rid of the baloney, get rid of the Federal Reserve. Federal government now prints all money, and the federal government makes the decisions of what to print. And the federal government is owned by you, and you make those decisions. So that was the first part. But then what they really said was that you pay off in the federal debt. You understand? You're paying the federal debt off with the money that you're making over the million, and you're paying off these other countries. You're paying off other countries that have borrowed money. You're paying them off, and you're paying them off, and the interest goes down, and the interest goes down, and the government's doing pretty good because the debt's paid off, and they don't owe anything, and the interest, which is a horrendous amount of the federal debt, is not being paid anymore. And all these people are paid off except those people who were overchargers. So you have an investigation, you find out who these in the Federal Reserve and the banks themselves, you start investigating these people, and when you get all done, you find out who the overchargers are, and you realize that all the money that these people have stolen from you, and that money is confiscated. I mean, they've done it for years. If you caught with a drug situation and you got a really nice car, they take it. Well, they've stolen money from us and we take it back. And they say that includes houses and cars and boats and land, businesses, and the whole 9 yards. And if there's any resistance from these overchargers that are, whoa, super wealthy, they get taken to the bounty court. No, we didn't call the bounty court before, but we, in the section on law, we talked about the court, the federal court that could put a bounty on somebody that you just can't get any other way because they're just too rich. Okay, so that's now called a bounty court. And these people, that you convict them of overcharging, and you convict them of stealing from you, and you say, now you give it all back. And they say, okay, no problem. Here, everything it is up to, one of the things that they always say is up to the $1 million a year. We'll start at like when you were 20 years old, and you can have $1 million each year, except that you have to take away the amount of money that it costs to live, and blah blah blah, and then you should have about this much money now, and they let you keep that amount of money because we should be punishing them, but we're not going to. They're sick. They're very, very sick people, and they did something that was legal at the time. So leave them alone. Let them have. They're just as rich. They're rich, just as rich as anybody out there. Everything becomes more equal because you can only make $1 million. So there's lots and lots of millionaires, and they're one of them. So we didn't take anything away from them, really. They're right there with everybody else. But they won't be overcharging anymore. And so, we've got that covered. So then we turn around and say, okay, what about other changes? We've done the change with the children, we've done the change with the banks and the stock market and the government, and what about other changes? There are other changes in the business place that we haven't talked about yet. And they say the means of educating employees for a job will be changed, and it will be covered under the chapter on education. What did they say there? We are going to educate our children, honest to goodness life education, and the businesses are going to educate their employees for the job that they want them to do. The business is going to pay for it. And what they said in the chapter on education was that the business will educate the employee for exactly what they want. Not some extraneous thing that some university wants, but exactly what the business wants, and that's the way it should be. So the universities will be educating children about life, people actually, and how best to live, how to deal with those things that they don't understand, and it's free education, and it's open all the time. So if you all of a sudden become, you want to just get a view of it. I'm not even talking about education, but let's get a view of it. Because education's free, and you can go anytime as long as you're also working. You can't be on government assistance unless when you're on government assistance, then when you go to college or university, you have a specific thing that you're going for, and you're passing each one of the lessons, if you will, and ultimately you end up being able to be hired because you have a higher education. That's what it's there for. So now the other thing that it's there for is to teach you how to live, which we just simply don't do. But in the new system, we will do that. Well, what does that mean? The 32-year-old man, bachelor, 32-year-old man, falls in love with a woman. He has no idea what to do because he hasn't been in a close personal relationship. Boom, goes to university, and probably she does too. But anyway, he does. And he goes to the university, and he says, I got a relationship with this girl. I love her, and I want to marry her, but I need education. Okay, let's show you what personal relationships are all about. Let me show you how it works. Let me show you what's coming. Let me show you how to take care of children. Do you understand, though? Do you understand? What's the university there for? You're going there to learn how to live. I got this car and I want to take care of it, and I just have this urge to, okay, go to the car take care of class, and they'll teach you how to take care of a car. All kinds of things that you want to know and want to be educated. So now one of the things that's the most important thing for the overchargers is that you are not informed. You're not educated, you're not informed. So we're going to put an end to that. We're going to educate you. So in the universities, that's changed totally. But, that's something different. The companies are going to educate you to do the job that they want you to do, and that's the way it should be. The other changes will be that we've talked about before, the licensing in business. They'll know, and it won't be a charge. It'll be a license to say that yes, you are a viable business and you are doing what all the other businesses do, and we're watching you, but it doesn't cost anything. So what that does is it makes the business conform to those things that we want it to conform to, and it does what we want it to, or is able to do, and does what it claims it's going to do, and it's watched. If it meets the level of performance that would be expected by the average person for the specific field that it's licensed in, it's licensed. If they can't meet the level or maintain that level, there will be no license. There you have the government control over businesses. And they say that one of the major things about that is that the field investigators, those investigators that go to check on the business, they do it with no warning. They have the authority to do whatever they want to do with no warning. And any investigator that gets buddy-buddy with people in the company will fall under the law of public trust, because the investigators can't have a relationship with the company. They've got to inspect them and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. And that holds true for like the health inspections or the pollution inspections, or the way that they treat their employees inspections, and the quality of the product if they have one, and anybody that gets in trouble there, that ends up falling into the hands of the reform group, and you don't want to be there. We've said that over and over and over again. You just simply do not want to be dealing with the reform group. So, okay, we pretty much covered that. That's what you're going to see for other changes in businesses. There's no suing anymore, and it will take very little before a person responsible for a violation falls into the criminal jurisdiction. You can understand that if you can't sue anymore, that you're going to push upon the legal system stronger arm of the law, if you will, stronger investigators, stronger rules, because you can't sue. So you got in the criminal jurisdiction, you've got people that are doing their job. Of course, you have to remember there's a paper trail for each decision made by the business in the new system. We want to prevent crimes in all area of business. We want to be able to get those who make the decision and remove them if they are endangering us. We want to be reformed if that is possible. We want them to be reformed if that is possible, and removed from business if not. So, you're talking about changes. Is that a change? Oh my God. Tremendous change. Tremendous change. Another area that will change in business as well as in public sector is the ease of dealing with government officials. There will be, now, do you think that I've been waiting for this for a long time. There will be no more going from one bureau to another just to get an answer or a license. Because the government in the new system is now a beast of burden rather than a beast, it'll become customer friendly. What does that mean? The total thrust of any bureau will be to serve the customer's needs in a shorter time and in a manner that is definite and complete. The business or a person will now be able to go to one office, and get one okay for the project or a license. That okay will include an okay from any agency who might become involved at a later date. One okay, one license, one stop. That's the new system's way. Is that different? Well, you got to go down here to get, and then you got to, and now that you've done it and you built the restaurant, we found out that there's 4 things that you didn't do that you were supposed to do, and in this new thing that we didn't talk to you about, and so you got to keep shut down and do it. No, why? Because it's a form of dominion, of course. Get to push you around. So what they say is if at a later date the government agency that gave you the okay finds that it made a mistake, it will have to pay the cost of making it right. Why? Because you hired the government to do a job and they did it wrong. Not the business, not the person who made the application. Not too many mistakes will be made of that kind in a government office, and there will be cuts, and the process will become much more thorough when a person or business files an application for a project or a license to do something. It'll become one stop, one place to give the information. What do you want to do? Okay, we understand. One okay or one rejection and no mistakes. If they make mistakes. How many times does a guy give an okay, a person standing on the counter takes his okay stamp, stamps the request and says okay, and then the government has to go in to this restaurant or whatever, but let's say this restaurant, and tear the things out and make it right, and then they say okay, you're ready, and do it extremely rapidly and get you up and going. How many times is that going to happen before that guy up on the counter is fired? You see what we're saying? They're going to say, when you come in, oh, we got this and we got this, and these things have to be done. And as soon as these things are done and you understand them, then you get an okay. Okay, now, once those things are done and it's stamped okay, that's it. It cost your federal government, which is us. We have to pay for the failure of the people we hire to do our job, and that's the way it should be, and they say that all the time. So wouldn't that be different is what they ask. Of course, if there was a fraud by anybody in that system, the legal system gets involved. So in other words, either, now you understand, if the guy who put the application in didn't give all the facts, he goes to the legal system, and if the person that's at the counter didn't do what he was supposed to do, probably won't get involved in the legal system, but he's not going to have his job very long. So then they say, okay, we got that taken care of. So how about changes? We're talking about changes in business, so how about the some other changes that'll be seen in the new system as it takes hold? There's one area that affects business and all other aspects of life, which we touched on earlier, and will now enter with more specifics. The area is tax. Now, have we gone into that before? Yep. And why are they going into it again? Because that, they keep, well, what was advertising? How did advertising work? Over and over again, the same thing, so that you finally get it. Okay, over and over again, taxes. Just to make sure we haven't left anything out, just to make sure that you understand it. Here, again, we come into the intelligence game arena, and as we asked before, why do we have so many taxes and fees and licenses? Because that's where the game players hide the taxes. That's where they play the games. And they always say the same thing. We can promise you that if you knew how much taxes you truly paid to your government, you would revolt. And they say, as they've always said, we don't want that to happen, since the result would be chaos only and would feed the fallen one rather than help you. So rather than getting you all upset about something that we're going to take care of down the road anyway, we would choose to change the tax system to allow you to see for yourself how much you pay, and then you'll begin to ask for what. But it's going to be piece by piece. You're going to find this thing and you're going to say, we're going to change that, and then all of a sudden you aren't paying the taxes on that. You aren't paying the government for that, and it's the government is saying, oh, we don't need we got more money than we needed with our sales tax, so we're reducing our sales tax, and sales tax is going to be so high that you're going to go when they first institute the sales tax, in order to pay all the taxes, pay everything, the first year it's going to be insanely high. However, it'll be exactly the same thing you're paying in the federal income tax, or less. And so you're going to get a clue right there as to what you're actually paying. So they say, rather than get all excited about how much you're paying to the federal government, because that's all going to change, let's get to the change. So with the changes that they're making, you will easily see where we are going and how much harder it will be to play the games in government. The first change is that we would have all the changes recommended here put into law, so there will be no doubt about its legality. And you understand that it can't be a law in this system until the Supreme Court okays it. So there you are. Second, we would make the IRS into the Federal Tax Bureau. And I kind of wondered why they would change the name, and basically they said because everybody hates the IRS. And you might get to the point where you don't mind the Federal Tax Bureau anymore because you begin to see how much money they're saving you. So, second, we would make the IRS into the Federal Tax Bureau. Third, we would make it illegal to collect any form of money for any government entity. Any government entity, schools, counties, cities, state, federal, garbage collector, anything. The only way you can get that money is through federal. The only money you can use in a federal or a government entity is through the Federal Tax Bureau, the new name. There would be no fees collected, no licensing costs, no money of any kind collected from anyone except through the Federal Tax Bureau. And that comes in all of that goes to all the governments would come in the form of a sales tax. There'd be no other tax involved. Fourth, the federal tax, no other tax involved in paying for what the government does. And you get right down to, they said schools, counties, cities, state, federal, county, cities, everybody who's a government entity makes a certain amount of money, and all of a sudden they're no longer getting it from wherever they're getting it, your property tax and your hunting tax and your on it goes. The only place they can get it is from the Federal Tax Bureau. The Federal Tax Bureau is only going to get it from sales tax. So basically you have all the money coming from one unit of government, and nothing's hidden.